with premenopausal issues, and she shared one very beautiful point with me, that in Ayurveda they give you ash to eat, literally ash, capsules of ash, or if you cannot eat ash just right away, and it gives the body a signal that it's very drying, so the fight mechanism will kick up, and then the body will just start conservation of its own fluids, and with heavy bleeding issues it might help. So that just stuck with me, that oh my god, this is a science. It's not just okay, do this or don't do this, eat this, and eat the medicines also. With so many things, it was never a very good easy option, I had realized before. But since that point I realized it's a perfect science, and I have been a science student, so this just stuck with me. And then the whole journey started for me about Ayurveda. Everybody can hear and see me okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, so the basics, some little basics about Ayurveda, what it is. It's a simple, practical, individualistic, spiritual science. And it's very holistic. It takes care of your body, mind, and consciousness together. They are not separate. So for issues with the mind, you don't have to treat just the mind. You have to treat everything. And everything is well connected. And it's, ancient wisdom. It's from the Vedas, and nobody knows the source, but it's ancient wisdom, but still, so relevant with today. And who's the healer? The medicines, the doctor, the therapist, they are not the healer. We are the healers ourselves. And just Ayurveda gives us the tips and the tricks to invoke that healer within us. It's a self-correcting mechanism we are born with, the body. And it always emphasizes on prevention. So for diabetes, till it comes into the picture in conventional medicine with the test and all, they can figure out you have diabetes. Ayurveda, it has, according to Ayurveda, it has already crossed more than 10 stages of imbalance in your body, if could have been prevented, and if caught at an early stage. So you can imagine, if it's like 10 stages later, if you can get it right away in the first or elementary stages, it's very easily preventable. So it's emphasized on prevention, and at the same time it cures diseases. But if you can prevent something, that's the best thing about it. And it's a sister science of yoga. They go hand in hand. And next comes what Ayurveda is not. There are so many misconceptions, and I was so ignorant about it, so I can so well relate to it. It's not a quick fix solution, so it's not going to work. You just pop something, it's not going to work right away, because it doesn't treat the symptoms. The symptoms are the just what body is showing. The problem is somewhere within. It is something else. So it doesn't treat the symptoms, it will treat the root cause. So it's a permanent solution if you can follow. And it's an individual approach, so one size doesn't fit all. So everybody has a unique body, and the same thing will not work for for everybody. So two people, if you take two people, we have to take two approaches to cure them. And there's no side effects of using Ayurveda herbs and medicines, because they are natural. They don't come out of any chemical. They are made totally natural. And they are not heating. They don't generate heat in the body. It's not restricted. You don't feel restricted. Okay, I can't do this. I can't eat this. I follow it this way. It's not that way. And it's not hard to follow. Once you understand your own body, what is good and what is bad for you, you take care of everything in your daily routine and your diet. It's not hard to follow, and it does work. It definitely does work. I have tried with myself with so many ailments I was suffering with. I have seen with myself, it does work, and in my family. So most of us, we know that the body and the surrounding, we all are made of 5 elements. They are called Mahabhutas. So Vayu or air, Agni or fire, Jal or water, Akash, you can call it ether or space, and then Bhumi is the earth. So we are made out of these 5 elements, and similar way the things around us, they are also made out of these 5 elements. We are not separate. So if you just realize that we are breathing the air, we are taking the oxygen in, and we are expelling the carbon dioxide out. And the plants around us, they inhale that same carbon dioxide and exhale the oxygen. So as you can see, we grow on each other because we are connected. And things around us, the nature, everything is connected. So out of these 5 elements, the doshas or the energies on which the whole principle is based on. So first one is Vata, the air and the ether element. They combine together to make Vata dosha or the energy. This energy is responsible for all the movements in the body. Then comes Pitta, which is the fire and little bit of water element, which is responsible for all the transformation happening in the body. And then comes Kapha, which is earth and water element, which gives the stability and the structure to the body. So these 3, we all have. It's just that somebody might have little bit more Vata than Pitta, or maybe Kapha. So you can have all 3, in like, if you see my fingers, if you say this is Vata, this is Pitta, this is Kapha. So we all are born with these 3, but they can be at a different level. That decides our Prakriti or the nature, the body constitution. And we all are born perfectly. There's nothing wrong with us, whatever way we are born with. But then with time and what we do with ourselves, the balance, this 3 is a good balance, but the balance, maybe it's going up or it's going down, or this is going up or this is going down. It can happen in all the ways. But if we follow some daily routine and food, we can definitely balance these all factors, and then we can live a healthy life. In the same way, the mind is made out of 3 elements. So it's called gunas or mahagunas. So sattva, which gives us the clarity and the positivity in the mind, and just all the good qualities you can think of, which is related to sattva. Then come rajas. Rajas gives us the activity. We move around and we do things. All the activities come under rajas. And tamas is the inertia, the lethargy, or whatever you can call. And we all have, again, these 3, and these 3, we all need these 3 to survive, because if we don't have tamas or inertia, we will not be able to sleep or rest at all. So these 3 are prominent at different time of the day. The same time, how we just take care of ourselves. But all 3 are needed, definitely. So to keep the balance of these, mahabhutas, and then the doshas and the gunas, we just, I put them on 3 pillars. So the first one would be the ahar. Ahar is the all the inputs, whatever you can see, hear, smell, touch, or taste, it comes under ahar. It's not just the food, but we'll talk about the food part mostly here. And then comes the vihar, how we have a good daily routine in tune with the nature, what the best we can do. So it's all about vihar. And then the vichar, which is the mind care, how we take care of the mind. As I told you, so the Vata, Pitta, Kapha we have in our body, at the same time it is all around us. So if you look at the division during the day, morning 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is the kapha time. And then 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the pitta time, when the fire is strong. 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. is the vata time. And then it just, the circle gets complete by kapha again. 6 to 10 p.m. in the evening is kapha. 10 to 2 p.m. is pitta. And then 2 to 6 a.m. is vata time. So when we say early to bed and early to rise, keep a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, it has so much into it. So if we wake up early during the vata time, which is all the movement. So if we wake up and then, kapha time is 6 to 10 p.m. That is the time, to do the exercising. And then because we are trying to follow the rhythm of the nature with our own body and routine. So 6 to 10 p.m. is a good time to exercise and, to eat breakfast and do whatever you do in the mornings. And then we'll talk about something which you can incorporate in your daily routine. And then again for exercise, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, or 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the evening. Those two are the timing good for any exercises. And as you can see, the pitta is higher, during the day, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So this is a good time to eat. So we always heard that breakfast should be your main meal, but that's not the case, because pitta is high between 10 to 2. So the nature is helping you to digest food. So that time, the main meal should be the lunch. And then dinner again, between 6 to 7, that is the best time to have a light dinner. And for sleeping, 10 to 2 a.m. is the most important time for the body to rest, and the organs are working in the transformation phase, because pitta is all about transformation. And then it's working towards whatever you did that day, and at the same time expelling out the toxins, whatever we have basically accumulated during the day. So that time is definitely very, very important to sleep, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So that early to bed and early to rise, that is the thing we always should keep in mind. It's not possible every day for most of us to follow the same routine, but just keeping that in mind and seeing on yourself how it's impacting your the energy level that day, and you can definitely figure it out. So then comes, morning time is the most important time of the day, and it's the golden time, I call. So when you wake up in the morning, I'll give you a few tips here. I learned them the hard way. So first thing in the morning, when you wake up, we wash our face nicely with little lukewarm to cold water, not very hot or very cold water. So, very regular room temperature water is good. So washing your face include washing your nose, your eyes, couple of rinsing your mouth with water. And then there's a term called oil pulling. I had always thought I got to learn this term few years ago, and it was like a very not a pleasant feeling for me. This is not for me. What is oil pulling? You put oil in your mouth, and then you squish around that oil in your mouth for a couple of minutes, and then you just either dispose it off in a trash can or in the commode, because this might clog your drainage pipes. But this trick, this oil pulling, is just, it can do wonders for your teeth, your gums, and if your throat is sore, this is a very good remedy. Sometimes we feel the tongue is tongue is burnt, and it can happen without eating any hot food. Sometimes I have seen with myself. So if you use some coconut oil, maybe just half a spoon of coconut oil, or some sesame oil, anything, just, and you'll see when you spit it out, the color of the oil changes completely. So let me tell you the process, what it does for you. Because the liver has been working throughout the night to expel the toxins from the body, some of them will get accumulated on the tongue. And then tongue and the mouth, because this is the major opening of the mouth. And then when we do the oil pulling, it brings everything out, and then you can get rid of it from your body using oil pulling. So I'm telling you the numbers in a sequence, and the next step comes, you can brush your teeth lightly, and then with the tongue cleaner, cleaning your tongue. I never did this as a child. I started doing it a couple of years ago, and this is a metal tongue cleaner, as you can see, and you can find a different variety. Any metal is good, you can use any. And you can just scrape your tongue using this after brushing your teeth 2-3 times. You can increase it number of times, you can scrape the tongue in the morning, and you'll see a lot of stuff coming out from your tongue. These are all the impurities which body wants to take out. And then you can gently massage your gums with your finger. And then now the cleaning of the mouth and the face is kind of done. So you can have some warm water first thing in the morning, or I'll give you a very this good trick I recently learned, and it does work magic. The CCF tea. CCF stands for cumin, coriander, and fennel. And these three are the magic spices. We'll talk about it more, but let me just give you this tip here. So I take an insulated flask, which will hold the water warm for a few hours. So what I do, I boil some water in an electric kettle in the night just before sleeping, and I'll add some fresh mint leaves. And these things, the CCF, cumin, coriander, and fennel, I'll just coarsely grind them together in a jar. I'll keep it in a bottle. So a spoon of this mixture and some fresh ginger. You can use fresh ginger if you like, and then add that hot water into that flask with all these things and close the lid. And this is ready for you in the morning to drink. So first thing to start your day, you can drink this. And people with digestion issues, they can see the impact right away if you start drinking it in the morning. Then you can go about your day. Then exercising for 20 minutes is recommended. And that 20 minutes should include cardio, core, yoga, asanas, whatever you like. So, but recommended thing is for 20 minutes. Excuse me. Then comes the self-massage and shower, and we'll talk about it more. And then have, just few minutes, maybe starting from, I would say, 5 minutes to 15-20 minutes, sitting with yourself, meditating, doing some breathing, whomsoever has learned that. And just, talking to yourself, how maybe you're not happy about something which you did yesterday, or you were very proud of doing something. So having that me time for some time, and just, that gives you the energy to go through the day. So after that, you go, all about your day. You have some breakfast, some light breakfast, get on to your work, take a couple of breaks, definitely. Have lunch, nap after lunch. Some people, they like to take a nap, or some people, they take nap, they cannot sleep at night. That happens to me. So for them, I would recommend maybe take a leisure walk if you don't want to sleep. For people who have diabetes, a day nap is not recommended at all. And people who really want to take some break at that time, excuse me, I think I need to put something in my throat. Just a second.
So meanwhile, if there are any questions, you can put in the chat and we'll have people answer them as we go. And then in the end, we can have a Q&A session as well.
Can I say something? Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to take thyroid medicine in the morning. Can I take this CCF?
Yeah, CCF is very natural. So it's just water infused with all these day-to-day herbs. So you can just soak it overnight and then the water is clear and just you can just have it. So it does not
No, but I
interact
have
with any
to
other
take the
medication.
thyroid medicine and they're saying empty stomach with the water. So how
So,
that?
so if it is
Sure.
empty stomach with water, then after that you can take it.
No, it's okay, Rahul. Shobhana auntie, I think I'll recommend to take your medicine just with water. And whatever time you leave after, have this CCFT and then start eating. So don't have it for the first thing in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't want to interrupt any medical routine you follow.
So first medicine and then the CCF, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever you start eating or drinking anything after taking your medicine,
Okay.
yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so where were we? About the nap? Yeah. So I can give you few tips here. So you can try sleeping maybe while sitting, so that you cannot sleep more than few minutes. Or Yoga Nidra is a very powerful meditation if you have tried. So Yoga Nidra is definitely recommended if you can take out the 20 minutes of your time in the afternoon to take just to relax, and you have the energy to go through the rest of the day. And then dinner time is again between 6 to 7. Have a light dinner, and after dinner 100 steps are recommended. If you can walk around 100 steps after dinner, that helps with the digestion. And for people with diabetes, that's a really helpful tip. And then you prepare for bedtime, and it's all common sense, and most of us, we cannot follow. I know it's very hard to stay away from the screen, but at least hour and a half to 2 hours before bedtime, there should not be any screen around you to have a good night restful sleep. And don't keep your phone in the same room where you are sleeping, because there's so much transactions happening using your phone. So we don't want you to be in that electromagnetic field while you are sleeping. So just stay away from that. And at the bedtime, you can for people who cannot sleep well at night, if you just clean your feet, wash them or clean your feet, and just couple of drops of ghee or coconut oil you can apply at your sole, and you will not believe that putting ghee or oil at your feet, that will help improving your vision. So that's how the body is connected. But this is a very good thing to follow at night. So we can go to the next one. And you can definitely put your questions in chat, and I will like to take them at the end as much as I can. But if something is not clear, please let me know. Thank you.
One quick question.
Most
these days now, even books are digital. You hardly get books. So that comes under screen time?
I will say yes, because you are looking at the screen And the light, which coming out of that, it's not good for your eyes, not for your nervous system.
Okay. Thank you.
I know physical books are not in fashion now, but try to read physical books at the night, I would say.
अभी मैंने आपको टैबलेट का नाम भेजा, आप अपने आप से पता कर लो, मिल नहीं रही यहाँ पे. हाँ,
Has he started or he was supposed to read this?
So then I talked about self-massage, which is called Abhyanga in Sanskrit. And for me, it's just self-love. I didn't know the term at all before. And I had some health issues and I was recommended to do this. And I said, okay, let me just do this. This is not going to do any harm. So, but I realized the day I do that, I feel good somehow. I could not pinpoint the reason, why it's happening. So Abhyanga is, you put very little of oil just before shower, you warm it up a little bit, not like hot oil. You can use sesame oil or coconut oil for that. And you just take very few drops of the oil and you put on your body. So the whole body is recommended, but I know with, daily busy schedule, most of us have, it's not easy. But I would say if you just try, if you don't have time, to do the whole body, take some drops, take some oil in your hand and with the other finger, just, tip of the head right here, just, a drop or two, and your nostrils. With this finger, you can do in your nostrils, your opening of the ears, little bit behind ears. And then the same oil, if you just rub on your hands, it's, giving enough moisture to your hands. And then, just putting it on your face. So just face and neck, if you can do this. And then, in the second round, just little bit of oil, and then put on your sole of the feet, both feet. And this should be enough, because these are all extremities of the body, and putting very little of oil, it can help you with so many ailments I have listed here. So it detoxes your body. At the same time, it nourishes your skin, and all through the extremities, you are trying to reach to the, deep tissues using that oil. So it is very good for your eyes. It's very good for your ears. You have heard that term, the ringing in the ear, you hear the ringing in the ear. So it helps with that condition. It just calms down your nervous system. People having vertigo issues, they can get really benefited out of this just simple technique. And then it's, through the nose, you are trying to block, so that none of the virus or any unwanted ailment to get into your nose. At the same time, it's working for your sinus, whatever is this part of the body. If you're putting oil on your face and nose and eyes and ears, it's helping with, all the condition. It makes your hair grow well, your skin, you can show your age. You are just nurturing every part of your body using the little bit of oil in the morning before the shower. And your energy level is higher and you feel good about it. And I can take guarantee because for this, I didn't know anything about it, but I started just with the experience, I started feeling that it's doing something for me, definitely. So that's called Abhyanga. And so there are some conditions here, you should not do it after food for 2 hours at least. So morning is the best time to do this before shower. And when you are suffering from any of the ailments like indigestion, gastritis, asthma, or fever, for women, first 3 days of menstruation cycle, and not to be done immediately after surgery. Rest all people, they can easily do it. Just don't use a lot of oil while doing it. Just use a very little oil.
But how long before you take shower? Well, you take just right away?
So Shobhana ji, I'm coming to that. Yeah, definitely. Good question. So the thing is, if you have time, I would say if you can keep it for 10-15 minutes, once you put the oil, you keep massaging yourself for, some more time before going to shower. Or if you don't have shower, I would say just do it and go take a shower. Don't worry about it, leaving any time in between. So this is anyway, it's very, very helpful. So either way you do it, you can just get the benefit from it. So if you cannot do it every day, alternate days or at least 2-3 times a week, everybody should try this. So from Abhyanga, we finish mostly with the daily routine. So then Abhyanga and then shower. And while showering, I would say we should not use a lot of soap, which makes our body dry. So very little soap, very gentle one, not like lot of fragrance. You don't want any of these. So just very little soap, gently you can take shower, and you will feel you will not need any moisturizer after taking shower. And you here in this part of the world, we don't sweat a lot, so we don't need a lot of soap to clean our body. So just take a shower with warm water. And for face, especially face and hair, we should not use hot water. It should be lukewarm water for this portion at least of the body. Rest of the body you can use hot water, but especially for the eyes and ear, head, it should be lukewarm water to wash with. So we are done with the first pillar. Now we will start with ahar. Ahar is anything you can digest. So maybe you have heard this term, we are what we eat. But with Ayurveda, it's like what we are, what we can digest. So you can eat a lot of things, but if you cannot digest, it's not of any use for the body or the mind. And we use food as medicine in Ayurveda. So, because everything is derived from the plants here. So food is medicine, and we just alter a little bit in our kitchen, and then you can use the food as medicine. And when to eat is more important than what to eat in Ayurveda. So again, I'll repeat the thing. So having breakfast latest by 8:30 in the morning, lunch 12:31, and then for dinner 6:37. Latest by that time you should finish your meal. So that is much more important than what you consume. So that we can try our best. So, and we can balance 6 tastes. So there are 6 tastes in all the things around us: sweet, sour, salty. Then comes bitter. Pungent is the spice, all the chilies. And then comes astringent. So we have these 6 tastes. And if we balance these 6 tastes in our food, we doesn't need anything else as a supplement or. So I'll tell you a little bit more about it. And moderation is the key. So if I tell you, okay, cumin is very good for you, so we just can't sit and eat cumin the whole day. So moderation is the key. Whether the thing is good for you or whether the thing is bad for you, anything, eating in moderation, we should all keep that in mind. And as you know, seasonal, fresh, local, organic food is always good. And we should follow a rule, which is 1 out of 3. So if you think your plate is your stomach, this is your stomach, right? So 1/3 of it should be filled with food, 1/3 with some liquids, and 1/3 should be empty for air, for so that the stomach is able to digest the food. So if you have the stomach of this size, 1/3 of it should be food, 1/3 should be liquid, and 1/3 be just nothing. And then warm, moist, freshly cooked meals are always recommended for anybody and everybody. And if we keep enough gap in our meals, and if we try to eat at a given time, you'll see the body will ask for food, so you will be hungry. So for some reason, if you are not hungry, don't eat. That is the key, another key. eat when hungry. And there are so many myths, going around. We all live in social media age. And then, for me, I felt studying Ayurveda was so much relevant around this time because, so much information going around, then you don't know whom to follow. So always, because breakfast is an industry. So breakfast is the main meal. But according to Ayurveda, and if you just think just logically here, the digestion is like the fire in the body, and it's not working in the night, right? It's taking some break. So the digestion, the fire, if you're trying to start a fire, you don't want to add a lot of, stuff to it. You want to gradually lighten it. So, you need little bit of fuel to light it. So a light breakfast is good. And by the lunchtime, sun is at peak. So, the pitta of the nature is helping you to digest food. Your own fire is very strong at that time. So the lunch is the main meal. Lunch should be the main meal of the day. And the same thing happens at the dinner time, that you are going to rest. So you want to, calm that fire down. So, have a light meal for dinner is recommended. So we always hear, from anybody, okay, if you have any problem, drink a lot of water. But again, the fire, we have the fire inside us, which is digesting. But if you just, drowse it with gulps of water, at one time, it's not going to help anybody. So, sipping water throughout the day, instead of having like a lot of water at one time and have nothing for many hours, just have it gradually. And don't drink water with your meal. So you can maybe sip few, keep a water, and then water should not be cold to have with meal or any time of the day. It should be the lukewarm or the room temperature, not hot water. Hot water is not going to help with your digestion at all. No, sorry, cold water is not going to help you with digestion. And when we talk about the 6 tastes, balancing the 6 tastes and tastes in your diet, it's not about sugar, which is sweet. All the grains, the vegetables and fruits, they are considered as sweets. So sugar is not only the white sugar, which is sweet. And these days, being, if you're vegetarian, always worried, add a lot of protein to your diet. But, body has its own mechanism. So you don't have to eat a lot of protein. The body takes care of itself. It has the power to build it for you, whatever your body needs. So eating, it's not like only focusing on protein, especially among youngsters. If you talk to them, okay, this much milligram of protein you have to have in every meal to stay healthy. But that's not the case. So, eat whatever you're eating, just make sure it has everything. So protein doesn't have to be a major part of your diet, definitely. And then comes smoothies and salads. They are the way to go. But it's the raw material, the raw vegetables, and they are hard on the stomach to digest for most of us. So that's not the most healthiest thing you can do for yourself. So it should be part of your diet. You can have them, salad, I would say it can be part of your diet, but not make it your diet, make it your meal, just having salad for meal. No. Same thing with smoothies, because you mix so many things in smoothies, then, body, everything takes its own time to get digested. So with so many things together, it's not easy for the body to digest that. And at the same time, digestion starts right in the mouth. When you put the food in mouth with the saliva, when you chew, the digestion starts right there. So when you eat a fruit, so you are chewing it in your mouth. But for smoothie, it's all, just mashed up, and, it goes very quickly to your system. So this is another point to remember if you think about smoothies is healthy. Then, today's world, ghee and fat is so unhealthy. But there are things you need to have some fat with it to be for the body to be able to digest and process, throughout your system. So some part of, and ghee is supposed to be purifying your food and your, taking care of so many things in your body. So a little bit of this is not bad at all. So everybody should keep that in mind. And then we always heard yogurt is really good for you. But yogurt, if you add a lot of water to yogurt and churn it nicely, it is good for you. We call it matha or tarka or lassi. So those are good for you, but eating yogurt as it is, it's not good for the stomach to be able to digest. You can add a little bit of black salt, some ginger, or mint. Roasted cumin is really, really good for that. So just add a little bit of spices to your yogurt, and make lassi or matha out of it and have it. And especially during lunchtime, after lunchtime, if you can have some of it, it will really help your digestion. Then again, milk is not good for you, but if you can find organic and the milk you can trust, it is very nourishing for the body. So some, again, moderation comes into the picture. Anything in moderation is good, unless and until you have some issues with milk.
So
And-
Shivani, you're recommending a little bit milk after lunch?
No, not milk. Matha or lassi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
made out of yogurt, and not
Okay.
like a whole cup or big. Just little bit.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Then
you.
comes, yeah, welcome. Then comes brown rice. So if you notice, when you cook brown rice, it takes so much time to get softened and be ready to eat. So you can imagine how much pressure you are putting on your system to digest brown rice, because it takes so much time to be prepared. So these things, a little bit of here and there is good, but this is not the healthiest thing for you, definitely. So things which are easily digestible, they are definitely good for your system. Then comes the whole, world of the spices, as you can see in the picture. And, we all have, most of us have it in our kitchen. But I never learned, the importance of spices before. Never looked at them as medicine, but they have been, doing wonders for myself. So I can vouch for it. So, all cumin, coriander, fennel we talked about, they are really good for your digestion. Then comes turmeric. Turmeric, we all know, and it's a big fad, right now here. But, taking turmeric as a supplement, as a curcumin form, that doesn't work, because whole turmeric has lots of things in it which helps the body to able to absorb curcumin. But if you just pop the curcumin pill or the capsule, it's not going to help. It might have some other reaction to the body. So having turmeric as whole, as a spice, is really, really recommended. Then black pepper, it acts as a carrier for all the good parts. So if you are having turmeric, to be able to take it to the different parts of the body, black pepper helps as a carrier. Ginger is really good. So either fresh ginger or the dried ginger, both are really good. For people who have acidity issues, dry ginger is not recommended. But if you can tolerate the dry ginger, it is really good for you. So you can add dried ginger to your dishes, to your milk. This is really good for any body pain and aches too. Then comes cinnamon. Cinnamon is good for blood sugar and blood pressure and lots of things. So having a little bit of cinnamon, I know it's a very strong taste and it takes time to get acquired to it, but just pinch of it is, it's enough. So you can add again to your milk or your cereals. You can experiment. Then comes cardamom. Cardamom, I always thought it's just, for the taste and the fragrance, to the sweets mostly. But cinnamon is not sorry, cinnamon. Cardamom is a excellent digestion aid. So, and anybody can eat it. Cardamom, we used to keep cardamom in our, purse. I remember my mom used to carry and then put it in your mouth after a meal. If you are not, at home, she'll carry it with herself. Now I remember, that time I never appreciated. But cardamom is an excellent spice, and it's very soothing for all the body types. So it's very, very safe spice. Cardamom, coriander, cumin, cloves, they have their own properties. It's really good for your teeth. And if you're coughing, clove can be very, very helpful in suppress that cough, if you can just keep couple in your mouth. Then come Indian gooseberries or amla. So as I talked about 6 tastes, amla has all the tastes except salt. So it has all the 5 tastes. So including amla in your diet is definitely very beneficial. Then come tulsi. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, and tulsi, remember we used to have it in our front yard or the backyard. So it keeps all the impurities away, and tulsi is like so many powerful associations with tulsi. Then comes mint, curry leaves, bay leaves, ajwain or caraway seeds. We call it magic bean. It doesn't taste or smell very good, but it is just wonderful for your digestion system. So if you are not feeling very good after meal, you're feeling bloated, or so what I do is I warm the water up. I'll just add very little of ajwain seeds into a cup and very little of hing and maybe some black salt or kala namak, and then add some hot water, maybe 1/4 of a cup, and you sip on it and you'll see the impact immediately. Within 5-10 minutes, you'll see the impact. So many, wonderful things in our kitchen, and we should know the benefits of them, definitely. And I'm sure I have missed some here, but there's so many in our culture. That way we feel so lucky and blessed. So the main things we can avoid while eating: don't eat in a hurry, or standing up and just grabbing the food on the go. Don't try to just sit in a place and eat your food nicely. Just give it some time. It doesn't take more than 5-6 minutes, even if you don't hurry. And don't have ice cold water. That is not good for your digestion at all. So room temperature is okay. Warm water is definitely beneficial. So just keep that in mind. Even if it's very, very hot outside, ice cold water is not good for anybody. And then comes the wrong combinations. So I think it's very popular here, and I also used to eat a lot of yogurt and fruit. And that is a very, very wrong combination. And the reason behind it is that they take, again, different time to get digested in the system. So, and they will do more harm than good. So if you eat once in a while, it's okay, but don't make it as a habit to have it daily. Then same amount of ghee and honey. That is a very deadly combination. And just keep that in mind. You should never have it. And honey, don't heat up honey. So even if you're adding to your teas, make sure they are little cool down before you add honey to it. So honey should not be heated. Then, as we all know,
Hi, Shivani ji, I missed this part. Like, we should never have ghee and honey together.
Same amount. So if you have a portion like a spoon of honey, then don't add a spoon of ghee to it. I would say spoon of ghee is lighter than honey. So maybe a couple of spoons of ghee will make equal to 1 spoon of honey. So equal portion of honey and ghee.
Okay, so that helps in because somebody told me it's really good for anxiety and then energy.
So then don't make the same proportion. So you use more honey or more ghee. The same
Okay.
amount of ghee and honey is not good.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And then comes nightshade vegetables. They are not good either. And we all have experienced, some part of your life.
शिवानी
Yeah.
दूध और फल भी नहीं चलते ना एक साथ.
That's a wrong combination too. Fruit and milk, they don't go together. So fruit should be eaten by itself, especially the melons. So don't combine your melons with any other fruit or food. Just have them just by themselves. So eat fruit as a snack in between your meals. Don't eat fruit with your meals. Thank you, Sumita ji, for pointing that out. I had forgotten that. And nightshade vegetables, eggplant, peppers, tomato, and potatoes, they come under nightshade vegetables. So just, minimize the use of these vegetables. And if you have a strong digestion system, you don't have to worry. But if you are having issues, just watch out for these things. Then, very spicy or oily, stale, frozen, processed food, we all know they are not good for us. White sugar, white flour, food which has been heated too many times, that loses all its properties and nutrition parts. So don't eat that. And then extreme temperature. So if you are trying to eat ice cream just after having some warm food, you'll see your teeth, they will immediately tell you didn't do the right thing. So very extreme temperatures don't mix together. And then comes the final part, the vichar, the mind, how it works. So having a strong body, a very healthy body, it's definitely recommended. But having a weak mind versus a strong mind, I would pick a strong mind, because, a strong mind can carry a weak body, but a strong body cannot carry a weak mind. So taking care of your own mind is very, very important. So these things, definitely we can incorporate some of them in our daily routine and they will help you. But taking care of the mind is the most important part. And most of us, we have learned how to breathe. We do Sudarshan Kriya. But if you are not introduced to that, I would say the best anchor to the mind is the breath. Because if you are angry, we know, if we notice our breath, we are just very shallow, quick breaths we are taking. We are sad, we are doing sighs, and we are happy, we don't even realize that we are breathing. So same way, if the emotions can impact our breathing, the breathing can definitely have an impact on our emotions. So if we take care of our breath and breathing, it really helps your mind. So doing some breathing exercises and following some breathing rhythm is definitely very, very powerful. Then comes yoga. Yoga is not just doing some physical movements and asanas. Yoga is bringing your mind, your breath, and your body at the same level, bringing them in a rhythm is yoga. So do whatever you are doing with little bit of awareness of your, on your breath and your on mind, it will really help you. And most of us, before getting introducing to be introduced to meditation, we think it's something, which is not for me. But meditation is not just, following a guided meditation or a mantra meditation. Meditation is just, maybe sitting in the corner for 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes and just having, as I told earlier, having a little talk with yourself. Just close your eyes, do some deep breathing, and it really helps to clear your mind and start your day or end your day on a positive note. Definitely. So much importance of chanting. It just brings so much positivity into your mind. Excuse me. And I have seen with myself, service can switch. If you are not feeling, very good here, if you do some service, it can be a very little anything doing, selflessly for anyone else is selfish. You'll see the switch will happen and you'll start feeling good. So by helping others, you can help yourself. Just, bring your mind in a positive state. And having this attitude, the gratitude, count your blessings every day. Definitely, you just, we can complain about so many things, but the minute you realize that, we have so much positive in our lives, that negativity, it goes away. So taking care of your mind is the most important thing. And I can share a little bit about women, and I know so many of us are here. So I would say you don't have to be superwoman always. Just take it easy and take care of yourself. So during the menstruation cycles, we always, we are taking care of everything at home, outside, kids, and, everything. But those 3-4 days, just, relax and don't do much. Just, I think it's not a sin to just sit down and relax, read something, listen to music. That helps, passing that time. It's some of us, we face so many issues during that time, but that will definitely help you. And I have some more tips on that. Maybe in my next talk, I'll share. And don't treat yourself as a trash can. There could be leftovers in the fridge, but don't think, okay, I cannot throw it away, I have to just eat it. I will not be able to offer it to someone else, because in the family they'll say, oh, we just ate it, I'm not going to eat it again, and we end up eating it. Don't do that. Just, okay, get rid of it. And being woman is really hard, and perimenopausal and menopausal time, it can be really challenging for most of us. So ask for help, and you will find some good tips from people who have gone through that tough phase of your life. And don't assume that, okay, if it's not being normal, it's like it's time, it's going to be this way. Just don't assume. Ayurveda has so many, I would say, in your kitchen itself, you'll find so many things which can help you in that time to transit that period very gracefully. So ask for help. Don't just keep quiet and keep suffering. Ask for help. That's it. So we'll finish with, I told you so many things. So don't be overwhelmed, because I know it takes time to incorporate. So just one thing at a time, start with that. So slow down a little bit, start giving yourself a little bit of time, okay, just some relaxing time in the day, and don't be hard on yourself. I have to incorporate so much in my life. Shivani told me so many things today. Just, go one thing at a time, and you'll see the benefits of implementing one, and then you'll see, you will start implementing more. And food wise, so many choices: organic, inorganic, A2 milk, this and that, fresh. I know we try our best to have the best, in our kitchen and in our fridge, but whatever you are getting, just be content. Okay, this is the best I am eating, and have that faith. Okay, this is good. Don't have, okay, why am I eating this, this is not good. Don't have that thought and eat. Just be happy about it. I'm doing the best I can, and just be content whatever you're doing with. Yeah, so for me, I would say was a very general introduction, and these are the very few of the tips I learned during my journey. So I'm happy to help out anybody with any specific problem. As a counselor, I can help you with your body type, finding your body type and what is good for you. I can help with what you should eat and what you should not eat, and making little bit specific about your daily routine and practices. And I can help you with some basic Ayurveda herbs. So this is my based upon my knowledge so far, and I feel this 1 year journey has given me enough knowledge and confidence to be able to help you out here. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Shivani.
Thank you, Sumita ji, for coming.
बहुत
Thank you,
ज्ञान मिला
Shivani.
इससे।
What a beautiful lecture. What a beautiful knowledge. And I know you're so incredibly talented. And also, whatever you do so beautifully. And this presentation was absolutely wonderful, Shivani. I really, I'm sure I'll be talking to you more. And, congratulations on completing your wellness Ayurvedic course. You're a true trooper. I know. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Rekha. Lovely to have you here. Thank you so much.